24/7 appointment setter is one of the quickest wins you can provide to your clients in 2025, saving money while generating business at scale. But your solutions are no use if they don't align with your clients' needs. Today I'll show you the exact voice receptionist that I built for one of my clients and explain 3 things that you need to do to build one that aligns with their concerns and also addresses their specific situation. And by the end, you understand what your solution actually needs to do beyond just booking appointments. I'll first show you a demo, then we'll improve your voice receptionist by focusing on client concerns, aligning it to their situations, and giving them control over the solution, which is the most important. So let's get into it.
Welcome to One Physiotherapy. I'm the clinic's AI receptionist. How may I be of service?
So this is for a physio clinic, but it applies to all of your clients, what I'm about to say. Hi there, I'd like to book an appointment.
Of course. So what seems to be the issue you'd like help with? Is this your first time visiting our clinic?
Yeah, it's my first time. I'm just doing recovery for knee surgery.
Thanks for letting me know. And wow, knee surgery recovery can be a bit of a journey. Are you looking for something soon, or is this more of a routine follow-up? Also, do you have a particular date in mind for your appointment, or are you just after the earliest available slot?
Yeah, so I'm after
your
the...
first and last name.
Yeah, I need the earliest available slot because it's quite sore. And my name is Kai, so C-A-I, Rivero, R-I-V-E-R-O.
Thanks for spelling that out, Kai. So the earliest available slot we have is today at 10 a.m. Since it's your first time, I'll also need your email address to complete the booking. Could you spell that out for me, please?
Yeah, sure, it's CAI@gmail.com.
Awesome, thanks for that, Kai. Just to confirm, your appointment is all set for today at 10 a.m. You should get a confirmation email shortly. If you have any other questions or need to change anything, just let us know. Good luck with your recovery.
You can see I got a new booking there. Cool, so that may have sounded like a generic call that you would hear, other people demo on YouTube, but in the background what this was actually doing is it was identifying new business for that physio clinic. So it was picking up, when it asked my first and last name and it asked for my email, because I said it was my first time there, it registered me into the system. And at the same time, when I said I was recovering from a knee surgery, it actually picked out the best physio, the best specialist for that. And because I said it was like an urgent matter, it just looked for the quickest time for that physio, which was at 10 a.m. And all of this was happening, of course, not on a Google Calendar that you'd see, but in a specific booking system, which in this case is Simply Book Me, which I'll get into in a second, how you can integrate everything specific to your client's needs. But in the background, this is just one tool out of many others that I've attached to it, so this receptionist can still reschedule and it can cancel appointments and do all that sort of stuff. I'll walk you through exactly what it does right now. The good thing is that most of the tweaks that we're going to make can all be done within Retell to really improve and boost your AI agent. So I'm just going to walk through the prompt really quickly and then you understand what I'm saying. So just starting with the role, I just kept this nice and specific actually. You can see that I added in, like, as a side note, the feature that makes it conversational is acknowledging the user situation and making them letting their guard down by being neutral and free-flowing. So I told it to use all these filler words, which if you structure like this, so these hyphens and stuff, it says it more naturally as well, because the AI actually uses the hyphen as it's speaking it out. So it's got that effect as well. Anyway, the main thing that you need to do when addressing your client's concerns is making sure that the AI knows what to do in every specific scenario. So obviously there's still the testing phase where you have to account for all the little mistakes that you make, or maybe you need to emphasize some points a bit more. But in my case, and what you'll find in your cases as well, you have to be really specific when making a receptionist for different types of calls. So I've got in the specifics tab here, so I've got this generic task that tells it what the main function of it is, and then in the specifics section here, I tell it, like, things that can happen at different stages. So beginning of the call, prioritize understanding the caller's needs through specific questions about the condition, urgency, and if they've had treatment before in the clinic. So use this information in physio data. This is just marking where the physio data is within the prompt, referencing it. So use physio data to decide the most qualified physio for the user situation. So it was very subtle when I called it, but it was actually addressing me to the specific physio, which I'll show you in a second when we get to it. And then the tool calls, use the tool calls available to check physio availability, schedule, reschedule. So I'm letting it know what the function of the calls are. And then specifically for when it makes appointments, you must ask if it is their first time at the clinic. You must ask for the first and last name. You must ask for a particular date and choose a specific physio. So the reason I did this is because if it identifies that it is new business, it will then ask for their email as well. Whereas if it's already like people who have come before, then all they need is a first and last name and they'll find them in the system. So you can see that here, new patients, you must get their first and last name and also get their email, only if they are new. For rescheduling, they need to get their first and last name rescheduling, and remember the date of the original booking. And then I've got a more generic like other info here. But yeah, so straight off the bat, you can see that I specify exactly how it must identify new business, which was the main concern of this client. And I'll show you the physio data now, which is the second sort of like concern that he had, which was obviously I took all of this out. This isn't the actual business information that I'm showing you, but this is more or less the information that I had for him. So this is physio data. This is what I'm referencing up at that specifics point tab, and I'm saying, okay, this is all of the services that the physios provide. So pain management techniques and all that sort of stuff. And then when we're talking about individual specialists, there are pain relief massage specialists and like exactly what they treat. So in my case, I had like the knee surgery, so it would be something around joint stiffness or something like that, and I would have chosen one of these physios. And the reason I've got the ID here is because this is the ID that the AI will use to reference that physiotherapist in the system. So that's specific to like the Simply Book Me, which is what I was using. But overall, you get the idea that one of the main concerns that clients have is that you need to address what representative or what member of your company is the most appropriate for that specific situation. So in this case, it's physiotherapy, just treating the person based on their specialty. But if it's sales teams, we're looking at like the top closers based on the data, maybe the top closers get the hottest leads, and the business owners that you're dealing with day to day, they want to have that control over the AI, and this is how you address the concern through the prompt. And as you can see here, everything is very, very structured, and by doing so you guarantee that the AI is consistent in making these decisions as well. And then in this section, I've just got the tools. So checking availability, this is more like the general stuff that you have in all of the receptionists. So you can schedule appointments, reschedule, cancel them. So Get Client is a tool to get the client information from Simply Book Me if they are already registered. And Urgent Booking pulls in the most recent appointment slot available. And then the transfer call addresses the second point that I want to talk about, which is giving the client control. So what the transfer call tool does is, if the AI feels it's not an appropriate situation for it to handle with the person that's calling, it transfers the call to the actual client or the business owner in this case. So this is more the case with like receptionists, dental clinics and that sort of stuff, that if the AI if someone just asks to speak to the owner directly, then the AI can actually transfer the call. And this is very simple. It's a very small thing that you can do, but very powerful to give your client, the reassurance that you have this under control, and if for any reason the AI can't handle the calls, then you have that transfer call tool as a backstop to transfer it to the client. So this is the second point that I want to touch on, and it's just a simple tool that you can configure within Retell, and you put the phone number here, and then you just describe to the AI when to use or what this tool does, and then when to use it as well. So to reinforce the points that I've made so far in the video, the main, I guess, section that you're going to really emphasize these points is going to be in the example section of your prompt, which in this case I've formatted it using HTML tags. These are the reference tags that I use all the time in my prompts, and I give it very specific situations where the AI needs to do it like exactly how we'd like it to do consistently. And I don't just give it one example, I gave it 4, right? So for this client, because there were these concerns, on the table, I had to make sure that the AI knew what to do in each particular scenario. And the way I labeled them was the example and then the name of the tools that it would have to, or the scenario, which would give it the desired tools that it would need to use. Okay? So to emphasize on this, if you want to reinforce this point of, choosing the right people or making sure that it transfers the call, again, this is all within the prompt, and you do that by giving it as much the best examples possible. Okay, so now moving on to the make.com scenario that's going to take in all of the backend stuff. So this is a copy of the exact scenario that I used, and you'll see that it uses Simply Book Me on each of these tool calls, and more often than not, you're gonna eventually have like the same appointment setters doing the same sort of tools, and the only thing that's going to vary is going to be the platform that you use. So what you can see here is that instead of having multiple different scenarios, as a side note, you want to have just as little scenarios as possible, and if you can, Retell makes it very easy for you to distinguish between the different tool calls that the agent makes. And to address this, what you can do is you can add these filters here. So the name has to be a check availability for it to go through the checking availability route, and you get the point, right? So for all of these different tool calls, it's going to trigger these different scenarios, these different paths, and act accordingly to the situation. So this is going to be available for free. All you need to do to specify, to change it to your own use case, is import it and then change the Simply Book Me to whatever, CRM or Google Calendar, or whatever you need, so that it works for you as well. But moving on to possibly the biggest point of them all is using the exact systems that your client uses. So in this very case, I didn't even know what Simply Book Me was. I had never heard of it before making this build, but this was something that I had to learn and familiarize myself with when making this system, right? So I had to make a free account on Simply Book Me, and the reason I'm showing you this is because this is the exact thought process that I include through each of my builds to make sure that I integrate my solutions to the same systems that my client has. And the way that you understand and familiarize yourself with these systems is by looking at their API documentation. Now, in this case, I was actually lucky that Make has native integrations. This is why I recommend making all these backend systems within Make, because everything is native, and as a beginner, that really helps. But even still, I had to look at the API documentation in Simply Book Me, because they had some restrictions around how I send data and how I structure data to that API within Make. So you can see here, for example, the documentation is telling me not only what parameters I need to pass on to the API to get the response, which Make already helps me with, but the string format that the date and the start time and whatnot needs to be in order for the actual response to come through. And this is something that I struggled initially because I overlooked this in the API documentation. So this is something that immediately, if you get and integrate within like your process of making agents, it'll significantly boost your efficiency when making agents, because by looking at the documentation and knowing exactly what parameters and how you send those parameters to the API, then that broadens and deepens your skill set as a developer. So that's all for the video today. By now you should have a better understanding of how you approach client projects as opposed to making these systems, generically using Google Calendar, because we are making sure to address their concerns, keeping them in control, and using the exact systems that they use in the most effective way. If you are a business owner wanting to implement appointment setters in your everyday sales process, then you're exactly the person that we want to help. So feel free to check out the booking links below, and that's it for the video. Thanks for watching.